PinkPantheress made her debut this year and has such a wide audience, already claiming that that's their favorite artist. With 10 million monthly listeners, Charlie XCX described the singer and producer from Bath as an icon, and her songs as irresistibly catchy earworms. Today, I want to break down some of her music and the samples that are used, and I also want to show you how you can go about creating songs in a similar style to PinkPantheress. What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Inspired By. My name's Will and I make an assortment of music under the moniker Hush Child. So I've arranged this project into 4 areas, starting with what I consider to be the least imaginative use of a sample and the most imaginative, but for the most part I've tried to keep my opinion out of this video. So for this example, we're going to look at Attracted to You, and this is simply Just Jack's Stars in Their Eyes from the year 2007. Minus 22 cents, minus 4 semitones, and then sped back up to match that tempo. So that's Attracted to You. This next one's a little bit more interesting. It's called Last Valentines. Check out the sound selection for this. Kind of hard to spot the sample at first, but if we jump into here, you can see we've got Linkin Park's Forgotten. And it's just pitched 35 cents out of tune and minus 2 semitones down and sped up quite a lot. Here's what the original sounds like. But what's most interesting about this example, and I think she has another record or Apple loop sampled low in the mix and pan to the left. So essentially what we have in the left pan is this. And I think in Last Valentines, it's just a really high-passed full drum loop, but I've used 2 samples, the one on top being just an Oliver Hatz loop and the one underneath just being a Splice Originals snare. And I've paired those together and used that same effect of just high passing with the EQ there. The Linkin Park sample, I've just picked up at around 109 Hertz to just pick up some of that bass out of the mix. So that's Last Valentines. Again, not too much production, but more than Attracted to You. No kicks added, but we've got that kind of hi-hat snare in the left pan. So I figured that was kind of interesting. With our next example along, this track's called Break It Off. And there's actually way less sampling in this one, but there's something interesting going on that I wonder if any of you guys spotted. Like last week's episode, there's so many examples and samples used in this video that I'm sure it's going to get demonetized. If you want to support the channel, do head over to patreon.com/TheWillHatton. There's plenty of templates, downloadable projects, and tools that you can use in your own sessions. So let me just start by playing you what can be heard in a track. So you probably heard it's probably really obvious there, but it took me a couple of listens of Break It Off to realize what was occurring. So let's play PinkPantheress version of Break It Off. It's just here we have this weird warping of the track, which makes me think she maybe used some free software to chop and slow it up. Or perhaps when she brought the sample in, there was just a particular point of the song that was warped that maybe shouldn't have been. So if we listen to the beginning here, everything's straight to the metronome. When we come back in here, you'll notice that the beat is a little bit slower than it was before and then quickly speeds up. So I found it kind of interesting that that kind of sonic fault was there. To recreate that, it's just Adam F's Circles, pitched down 3 semitones. And this is what it sounds like with warp turned off. I've done nothing to the mix, haven't boosted or cut anything. So it's a lot brighter in the original. But to get that kind of weird warp effect where it gets out of time, I've just created 4 warp nodes. And that means upon bar 7, it actually gets back in time to how it was sounding at the beginning. But I've just stretched out the first beat of the bar and this section here at 6.3 so that we have a gradual speed up. I can't imagine that that was a conscious decision, but if it was, kind of interesting. So this leads me to the final example of PinkPantheress's sound selection, and I find this to be the most interesting. It's the most popular track and it's called Pain. And it's said that she's sampled Sweet Female Attitude Flowers, which came out in 2001, but I can't actually find a version of the song that sounds the same. There's no vocal chops in her version of the record. So I think she actually recreated the sound of the chords and used those two same chord patterns, or maybe found like a karaoke version of the song. Nonetheless, this is how I recreated it. It sounds kind of odd at first, but if you just doubled this up, this is in the same key that hers is in. It will sound kind of alien. So what have I got going on here? So this was the hardest thing to achieve, and that was that chord sound. So I firstly went about creating a chord pattern with a serum patch that I felt was a similar sound. I just played around with this FG2 keys patch that I got from Splice and just changed some of the envelope and wave shapes just a little bit. I tried applying the RC20 plugin and OTT, so it sounded more similar, more detuned to PinkPantheress's version. Still wasn't cutting it, so I added the E-piano with a bunch of plugins and then just a bass as well to replicate some of the bass notes heard in those chords. And the bass just had the amp device on it, so I could control the bass, middle, and treble. So now this ended up sounding like this. There's that E piano and the bass. And then finally, I put that into a group, and I was actually A/B referencing this with the actual song Pain. And I just couldn't get it to sound right. So the point of resampling it onto this new track was so that I could pitch it 38 cents out of tune. So it created more of that detuned effect. And then I just took out some of the frequencies I didn't like with the EQ8 there and added a glue compressor. So now we're left with a chord pattern that sounds like this. It sounds pretty weird as an instrumental, but like I said, double that up with the song Pain, and it sounds like it's exactly in the same key. The only thing that we have doubled up on this is the garage drums. Now to me, if I was to hazard a guess, it sounds like a Logic loop or some kind of stock garage loop that you get, but I went through Splice for hours and couldn't find something, so I ended up just replicating it as best I can. In my opinion, it's a really weird selection of sounds because the snare that's used in the song Pain is kind of this acoustic meets electric snare drum sound, which isn't normally found in kind of garage music, but then the garage side snare is completely spot on. Then we've got like some live hi-hats. I haven't really done anything to this other than add OTT, a compressor, and the EQ8. And then we've got our garage kick and this really harsh crash that kind of chokes itself at the beginning of every drum loop. I threw this into a group with drum bus just to maybe make it sound a little bit more cohesive, but once again, I think I might be overthinking this particular track. So everything together sounds like this. So those were some of the sounds and samples behind the PinkPantheress songs themselves. So what if you wanted to create some music of your own in the style of PinkPantheress? Well, the first thing that I would do is sign up to DistroKid, and they're today's sponsor of this video. I use DistroKid to release all of my musical material, and they make it so easy to get all your music on all of the streaming platforms, as well as create evenly spaced splits amongst your collaborators. And I'm doing just that with my future releases coming out at the end of the year. With all the changes going on in the music industry and streaming, I do believe that DistroKid make it the most stress-free platform to get your music heard. We want to create some music like PinkPantheress future music releases. So let's do it. So one of the samples that I gravitated towards, especially having lived this time, I figured Daughter's song Love would be a really easy song to sample in a similar fashion. So I took this sample here and pitched it up 4 semitones, as well as sped it up to kind of a breakbeat tempo. So not quite drum and bass, but kind of around that 160, 162 BPM. I had the EQ8 washed it out with some Valhalla reverb, added delay, a little sidechain compression. That's just ducking with the kick. And then I added this lower vocal underneath, just pitched down an octave. And then after that, I just added this breakbeat pattern. Did it in a similar fashion to what she would have done. Probably taken out the kick drum from this layer here. Boosted the areas that I liked from the original sample. Taken a nice round kick. And then this nice open hi-hat slash crash. With this loop here, I tried to be a little bit more creative than some of our previous examples. This was the loop. It's just the same time and time again. So you can see I've chopped it up, tried to create little breakbeat fills like this. But I've tried not to overthink some of the processing that I would have done as, you know, me, Will, Hushchild. And then after that, I just figured that we could have some kind of like jungle bass. So I added these 2 instances of Serum. So you can hear some really plucky notes being played on this side. And just underneath, we've got some legato notes, and that's what the sub is playing to give that bass a little bit more kind of weighty hold on the track. So everything together sounds like this. So to see if it would be something that would work, I just took the acapella from PinkPantheress's Passion. It's a little bit pitchy, but it was a similar BPM, and just applied it to this loop that we had. This is what we're left with at the end result. So there we have it, guys. If you made it this far in the video, do let me know, and I'd love to chat in the comments below. Let me know your opinion on PinkPantheress. Do you think what she's doing is genius, or do you think that her sampling technique is obscuring the boundaries between stealing and just creative sampling license? As always, guys, I thank you so much for stopping by. If you learned something new, want to come back in future, do like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. As always, I thank you, and I'll see you next time.